Coming up next, a Texas-sized move toward constitutional history as the Daily Ledger continues. In the Lone Star State, there is strong support for both the wall and for constitutional history, an Article 5 Convention of the States. Joining me now from Dallas, Texas, director of the Convention of the States Project, Tamara Colbert. Tamara, big news, apparently, out of the State House in Texas there, a joint resolution, or at least a resolution out of the Senate to support a Convention of the States from Texas?
Well, Graham, thank you for having me on today. Tomorrow is our Senate vote. We are excited for debate. We are looking for an opportunity to restore the rule of law and do what needs to be done. And we believe that our Senate here in Texas is going to say yes and pass SJR 2 to get it moving into the House.
It passed in committee, what was it, 6-2?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so obviously there is support, but there's support from the top, and that would be the governor, the lieutenant governor. There's support, obviously, in your state legislature, but there's also a large amount of grassroots, just the people support in Texas, correct?
Well, unlike any other state, Texas has more than 114,000 grassroots, and really for Texas, we remember the Alamo as we celebrate Texas Independence Week. Our grassroots really see really kind of this coalesce between where Texas came from 181 years ago to today. We still love liberty, and we believe, and we are encouraging very strongly our Senate to do the right thing and continue to vote for independence and really putting the federal government in its place so Texas can lead.
Okay, so what do you think the rough timeline is? Let's say that it comes up for a vote and it passes. What happens next, and how long till it gets to the governor's desk, do you believe?
Well, here's the beautiful thing. It's an emergency item, which we didn't ask for. The governor did this on his own, and we appreciate his leadership. And it will go immediately to the House, where we believe it will go to the Federalism Committee. And it's going to be a top priority to get in there and out of there and then to the floor. We say probably 2 to 2.5 weeks we expect once it passes tomorrow. We'll be in the floor of the House for a vote.
What is the most pressing among all the constitutional amendments for folks in Texas when you ask them, whether it's lawmakers or just residents of Texas? Is it term limits? Is it a balanced budget? Is it the repeal of the 17th Amendment? What stands out right now among Texans?
Actually, term limits for the judiciary is a top item for Texans because it's no more lifetime appointments for any judge. Look at what we're seeing, just lawlessness with our own judiciary. And so I think Texans are looking at that. But I think on the whole, Texans want independence and to be left alone to innovate and create and not have such heavy-handed government interference in our lives.
And term limits, of course, could be a possibility for members of Congress, and President Trump has openly said that he supports term limits, which is kind of a backdoor way of supporting an Article 5 Convention of the States. I firmly believe that, and I firmly believe that the president would support this effort if indeed it results in things like congressional term limits or judicial term limits, what have you. Now, the success in Texas is a bit tempered, though, by a couple of problems that occurred in 2 other states, one of them Utah, the other South Dakota. What happened there? Because it looked like it was on the right track and suddenly it got derailed. We're talking about another resolution in those 2 states.
Well, here's what's happening is we have a handful, a small minority of opponents who are using fear and intimidation. And in some cases, they are downright being untruthful and lying. And what's happening is weak-kneed senators, weak-kneed people in the legislatures are succumbing to fear. And so when we are looking at people who tell us behind closed doors in their office they're going to vote for us, and they get to the floor for a vote like Utah, and then they really essentially betray their word, I feel sorry for them because, yes, elections do have consequences and they should be very careful for their upcoming reelection.
So what? Are they succumbing to this fear-mongering that's out there? For example, when you hear that some people say, oh, you're going to take away our Second Amendment right or our First Amendment right or what have you, it's absolutely not going to happen. Not unless 38 states say, hey, let's take away the First Amendment. It's not going to happen, right? Is that what's happening?
It's exactly what's happening. And the interesting thing is that the contrast between our opponents in Convention of States grassroots is dramatic. We are calling there saying, you have a grassroots army behind you. Support us. We're behind you. And these opponents are yelling at them, name calling, threatening them. And what we're seeing is fear is a very powerful driver, but we refuse to go that route.
All right, 34 states needed. There are 8 committed so far, 26 to go. And if folks want to get involved, what's the best way? What's the name of your website?
Conventionofstates.com. Graham, thank you as always. You're amazing. The grassroots, you are a hero to the grassroots.
We're just doing the job that Americans would want us to do. And I firmly believe that if the American people are educated about this, most Americans would be on board, as long as we continue to proffer the truth. And who knows, maybe Texas will be the 9th state. We'll keep our fingers crossed. Tamara, thanks.
The question facing us and facing our fellow countrymen is a 2-word question. Very simply, who decides? The American founders had a simple answer. We, the people, decide. Anything's possible. America is built on the impossible.